Once upon a time, in a cozy little farm nestled in a valley surrounded by rolling green hills, there lived a young pig named Percy. Percy was a happy, playful piglet who loved to frolic in the fields, roll in the mud, and chase butterflies. He lived with his family and many other animals who all shared the barn and the surrounding pastures. Percy was well loved by all the farm animals and the farmer, Mr. Jenkins. But Percy had a little problem. He liked to tell tall tales. Percy found great amusement in making up stories and watching the other animals react to his imaginative lies. He never really meant any harm, but he didn't understand the trouble his stories could cause. One sunny afternoon, Percy was feeling particularly bored. He had played with his siblings, explored the farm, and even taken a nap under his favorite oak tree. As he wandered around, he thought of a mischievous plan to entertain himself. "I know," Percy said to himself, "I'll pretend that a wolf is coming. That'll certainly get everyone's attention." So, Percy ran to the middle of the farmyard, squealing at the top of his lungs, "Help! Help! There's a wolf! A big, scary wolf is coming to the farm." The chickens clucked loudly in fear, the cows mooed nervously, and the sheep bleated in panic. Even the farmer, Mr. Jenkins, dropped his tools and came rushing to the yard, brandishing a pitchfork to defend his beloved animals. When everyone gathered around, eyes wide with fear, Percy burst into giggles. "Gotcha!" he laughed. "There's no wolf! I was just joking." The animals were not amused. "Percy, you shouldn't joke about such things," said Bessie the cow. "Wolves are dangerous, and it's not funny to scare us like that." But Percy just shrugged. "It was just a joke," he said, and trotted off, leaving the animals grumbling and Mr. Jenkins shaking his head. A few days later, Bessie the cow realized she had lost her favorite bell. It was a beautiful, golden bell that jingled melodiously and was a gift from Mr. Jenkins. Bessie was very upset. "Has anyone seen my bell?" she asked, looking around the barnyard. All the animals shook their heads, except for Percy, who saw an opportunity to play another trick. "I saw a raccoon take it," he exclaimed. "It ran into the forest with your bell." Bessie's eyes widened. "Oh no! My precious bell!" she cried. She immediately headed towards the forest, determined to retrieve it. The other animals watched as Bessie disappeared among the trees. Percy laughed to himself, thinking how clever he was. But as the hours passed and Bessie didn't return, he started to worry. When night fell, Mr. Jenkins went searching for Bessie, eventually finding her lost and frightened in the forest. When they returned, Bessie glared at Percy. "You lied to me, Percy. There was no raccoon, and I nearly got lost in the forest." Percy hung his head in shame. "I'm sorry, Bessie. I didn't mean for you to get lost. I just thought it would be funny." "Lying is never funny, Percy," Bessie said sternly. "You need to learn that your actions have consequences." A week later, Percy was playing near the barn when he had another idea. He thought it would be funny to play the same trick again. So, he squealed loudly, "Wolf! Wolf! There's a wolf in the farmyard!" Again, the animals dropped everything and came running, and once more, Mr. Jenkins grabbed his pitchfork and rushed to the rescue. But when they arrived, there was no wolf, just Percy, rolling on the ground with laughter. "Percy, this isn't funny," snapped Harold the horse. You're going to get us all in trouble with your lies." "Yeah, Percy," added Clara the chicken, "you need to stop this." But Percy just laughed and ran off, thinking of how clever he was. That same day, Clara discovered that one of her precious eggs was missing. She was in a state of panic, clucking loudly and searching everywhere for her egg. "Has anyone seen my egg?" she asked frantically. Percy saw another opportunity to amuse himself. "I saw a snake slithering away with it," he exclaimed. Clara squawked in alarm and immediately began to search the bushes and tall grass for the snake. The other animals, still shaken from Percy's wolf prank, were reluctant to believe him but helped Clara search anyway. Hours passed with no sign of the egg or the snake. Clara was exhausted and heartbroken. Finally, she found her egg, safe and sound, hidden behind some hay in the barn. It had rolled away on its own. When Clara realized that Percy had lied to her, she was furious. "Percy, how could you lie about something so important to me? I was so worried." Percy felt a pang of guilt. "I'm sorry, Clara. I thought it would be funny. I didn't think you'd take it so seriously." "Well, I did," Clara snapped. "And now you've made me waste an entire day worrying for nothing." A week later, Percy was playing near the edge of the forest that bordered the farm. He was chasing butterflies and enjoying the warm sunshine when he heard a rustling in the bushes. He stopped and stared, and to his horror, a pair of glowing yellow eyes stared back at him. It was a real wolf. Percy's heart pounded in his chest as the wolf stepped out from the shadows, its sharp teeth gleaming. Percy turned and ran as fast as his little legs could carry him, squealing in terror, "Wolf! Wolf! There's a real wolf this time! Help! Help!" He ran to the farmyard, screaming at the top of his lungs, "Help! There's a wolf! A real wolf is coming to the farm." But this time, the animals didn't rush to his aid. They continued with their activities, ignoring his cries. "It's just another one of Percy's tricks," muttered Bessie. "Don't pay him any mind," said Harold. "He's just trying to fool us again." Even Mr. Jenkins shook his head, thinking Percy was at it again, and went back to fixing the fence. Desperate, Percy ran from animal to animal, pleading with them to believe him. "Please, you have to help. There's a real wolf. It's going to eat us all." But no one listened. They all remembered his previous lies and decided he was just trying to trick them again. Percy felt a lump in his throat and tears in his eyes as he realized that his lies had come back to haunt him. He had cried wolf too many times, and now, when he truly needed help, no one believed him. Just then, the wolf emerged from the edge of the forest and started to creep toward the farmyard. Percy was terrified. He knew he had to do something, but what? He couldn't face the wolf alone. He needed help, and he needed it fast. With tears streaming down his face, Percy ran to Mr. Jenkins, who was still working on the fence. "Mr. Jenkins, please! There's a real wolf. It's coming this way. You have to believe me." Mr. Jenkins looked at Percy and saw the genuine fear in his eyes. For a moment, he hesitated, then he grabbed his pitchfork and followed Percy back to the farmyard. When they arrived, the wolf was creeping closer, ready to pounce. Seeing the danger, Mr. Jenkins shouted, "Stay back, you beast!" He brandished the pitchfork, and the wolf, seeing the determined farmer, hesitated. Then, with a snarl, it turned and fled back into the forest. The animals, having seen the wolf, now realized that Percy had been telling the truth this time. They gathered around him, feeling ashamed for not believing him. "We're sorry, Percy," said Bessie. "We should have believed you." "Yes, we're really sorry," added Harold. "We were wrong not to trust you." Percy sniffled and wiped away his tears. "I'm sorry too," he said. "I should never have lied to you all. I understand now how important it is to always tell the truth." From that day on, Percy made a promise to himself and to all the farm animals that he would never lie again. He learned that trust is something very precious and that it can be easily broken by dishonesty. Percy worked hard to regain the trust of his friends, and slowly but surely, they forgave him. Meanwhile, Harold the horse had been having trouble with one of his horseshoes. It kept coming loose, and he was worried about it falling off completely and getting lost. Harold mentioned his problem to Percy one morning while they were grazing. "Percy, have you seen a horseshoe around?" Harold asked. "I'm worried mine might have fallen off somewhere." Percy, now committed to telling the truth, shook his head. "No, Harold, I haven't seen it, but I'll help you look for it." Together, Percy and Harold searched the barnyard and the fields. They asked the other animals if they had seen the missing horseshoe. Everyone was more willing to help now that they knew Percy was sincere. Finally, they found the horseshoe near the pond, half buried in the mud. Harold was overjoyed and thanked Percy for his help. "You've really changed, Percy. Thank you for being honest and helping me." Percy smiled, feeling proud of himself. He realized that being truthful and helping others felt much better than playing tricks and lying. Percy became known as the most honest pig on the farm. Whenever he spoke, everyone listened, knowing that Percy's word could be trusted. He never cried wolf again, and the lesson he learned that day stayed with him for the rest of his life. And so, Percy and the other animals lived happily and safely on the farm, knowing that truthfulness and trust are the foundations of their friendship and community. They all learned that honesty is always the best policy and that a single lie can have serious consequences. And every now and then, Percy would remind the younger piglets of his story, teaching them the importance of always telling the truth. The little piglets would listen wide-eyed, and they too learned the valuable lesson that lies can lead to trouble, but truthfulness brings trust and happiness. And that is the tale of Percy Pig and the Crying Wolf, a story that became a cherished lesson for all the animals on the farm and for many generations to come. Hey there, kids! Did you enjoy Percy Pig's adventure and the important lesson he learned about always telling the truth? If you did, then you're in for a treat. There are many more fun and exciting stories waiting for you, each with its own valuable lessons and lovable characters. Make sure to subscribe to Kids Craze Tunes for more amazing stories just like this one. Join us on more adventures, learn new things, and have lots of fun. Hit the subscribe button and never miss out on the next wonderful tale. See you soon!